When I first looked at the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, I was surprised. I was surprised to the point of being relieved how short it is. I was also surprised to see that there wasn't anything about yoga postures in it. When we think of yoga, we normally think of the yoga asanas, don't we? Of people in various positions and about working in these positions. But there was none of that. Some people regard the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali as a summary of yoga. And you'll get lots of commentaries explaining this and going into particular varieties of yoga. It seems to me though that if you're going to write a summary of yoga, it wouldn't be anything like the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Yoga is very precise. When you're being given directions in yoga practice, these directions are very precise. But there's something rather vague about Patanjali's work. It's not an instruction manual. It's not a summary of yoga instructions. And yet, it strikes me as being very precise in another way. In a completely different way to what we normally mean by precise. The Yoga Sutras are precise in the sense that the Tao Te Ching of Lao Tzu is precise. This is a text that was written down about 2,500 years ago in ancient China. It's precise in the way that the texts of Zen Buddhism are precise. It's precise in the way that some of the so-called wisdom texts of Buddhism are precise. And this precision can appear as cryptic. I mentioned the Buddhist wisdom texts. Wisdom is not about conveying content. It's about pointing. It's about using words to point you to your essential reality, your true self. The Indian sage Ramana Maharishi gave us his teaching the instruction to answer the question, who am I? To pursue this question, who am I? In other words, what is your essential reality? The wisdom teachings, the Zen teachings, the teachings of Lao Tzu, and it seems to me also the teachings of Patanjali are pointing to our essential self. It's in this way that they are precise. This is what yoga is. You might have heard that yoga means union, and then it's usually tacked on that this union is union with God. But that's not implicit in the word yoga. Yoga is union with our essential self. It's realization of our essential self. So yoga is both the goal and the realization of that goal. It's both things. It's not about practice. It's about giving up limited notions of ourself and realizing our unlimited nature. And I think there's a good definition of yoga which sums this up. It was given by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj in his book, I Am That, which is a collection of questions and answers. And here's the particular question that was asked. What is this sense of a separate existence? We have this sense of a separate existence, which could be described as the opposite of a state of union. We have a state of separation. And the Maharaj answered, it is a reflection in a separate body of the one reality. In this reflection, the unlimited and the limited are confused and taken to be the same. To undo this confusion is the purpose of yoga. And this was in chapter 5 of I Am That. So it's about not confusing the limited and the unlimited. And what we have to do is give up our identification with the limited and realize and identify, practice union with the unlimited. And in chapter 7 he makes reference to this unlimited absolute being, the supreme state. The only natural state is uncaused, independent, unrelated, undivided, uncomposed, unshakable, unquestionable, unreachable by effort. It is supremely actual and therefore possible, realizably attainable. So it's not reachable by effort. It's realizable. We can point to it, and this is what Patanjali does. And it's quite possible that many people that look at Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, they are describing the finger that's pointing. They're dissecting the finger that's pointing and going into the minutiae about the finger that is pointing, which is completely missing the point. The point is coming back to your true self, to who you really are. And this is why it's a sutra. A sutra means thread. It's a thread which we can follow back to our true self, back to our essential self. So realization happens. Realization is exactly what it means. You realize something. It's like waking up. You don't train to wake up. It's something that happens. And then the work begins. The work to become established in that awakening. Because it's very easy to fall back to sleep again. So the Yoga Sutras are pointing us back to our true nature. Now you may or may not agree with this understanding of yoga. To be honest, I think that any other understanding of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is a limitation. Let's realize the unlimited with the help of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Let us look to where they're pointing.